Welcome everyone to the March edition of Voices of Community with two of our well-known guests to the Voices of Community, to LambdaTest, as well as very well-known faces in the testing and quality space. Sai Krishna and Srinivasan from ThoughtWorks, both are lead consultants, been in the open source space, contributing to Appium and also various different tools. And I think given Appium 2 is coming up, they are trying hands-on various different things to make our onboarding experience very much easier. You could go check out many of those links that Sai and Srini has been sharing. Sai and Srini, thank you so much for joining today for yet another, part 2 version of clean coding practices for test automation. How are you feeling today?
Good, Manoj. I've got a lot of energy now when it's about clean code part 2. So I'm all packed to do something really good today along with Srini. And before there, thanks for having us over here, Manoj. This is super exciting.
Thanks for the opportunity once again, Manoj.
Cool, very well. I think this is one of the webinars that was more in demand. People were always reaching out and asking, when can we have I think it was accidentally we committed saying, if your folks interested, we can have the another version. So I think it's, to more people who asked when is the next version of it, here we go. Today we are having both of them continuing from the part 1. So for those of you who have not attended part 1, not to worry, I'm going to just give a quick background of what we discussed last time, and then I'll just hand it over to Sai and Srini to take over what's in store for us in part 2 and how to make our test automation code more clean. All right, so a couple of months back, I think in the clean coding practice of test automation, I think we started off with a general notion of how test code is as important as production code. I remember having a very candid discussion about because they're coming from ThoughtWorks, being a consultant, I'm sure, and I've been a consultant myself. So we're basically exchanging conversation around how clean coding on our test automation is more important, given there is always notion of comparing test code and also with production code. And I think we also quoted the famous Martin Fowler's quote on any fool can write code that a computer can understand, but only good programmers can write a code that humans can understand. So that was one of the good quotes that you could come across in clean coding. I think we started with that as an inspiration, and we touched upon various principles of clean code. I think we had a solid focus on the solid patterns as well as on the dry principles, like don't repeat yourself. And I think on the solid patterns, and most of you would know there are a couple of patterns within. I don't think we covered everything. We covered 2 of them, if I'm not wrong. One of them was the single responsibility principle and the open close principle, where we didn't take the classic, the MVC pattern or any production based or application development code base and, walk you through the solid principles, how most of the tutorials are there out the internet. But instead, we took a very well-known code, which is based on Selenium, based Java code sample, and we looked at solid principle. I think that brings a uniqueness to the webinar that Sai and Srini covered last time, because as I mentioned, if you search elsewhere, it's all about let's take a foo bar, hello world sort of examples, or more enterprise-y version of examples. And I think the examples that Sai and Srini took last time was very relative to what we do a day-to-day life. And I think moving on from solid principles, we also looked at picking up some of the code smells from the existing code, like dispensables, how bloaters, on the classes and parameters will make you look code very untidy. And, those are some of the principles. And I think we also touched upon slightly on flow manager, if I'm not wrong, like moving on slightly from the web version to mobile version of automation. Say you have the same end-to-end flow for your application or product, but you want to execute on Android and iOS. So how do you manage those sort of flows by using Flow Manager? I believe these are some of the highlights, if I'm not wrong. I'll also share a link to the blog that we transcribed based on the recording that we did last time, as well as the video over the chat. But I think that is a summary of part 1. Even I'm excited to, when I asked about, could you please share me an abstract for part 2? Sai and Srini was kind enough to give me 2-line statement saying, yeah, this is going to be candid. We are going to do a hands-on version. So they didn't reveal what it is more. So I'm putting you on the spot, Sai and Srini. Tell us what's in store in part 2 for us.
Sure. Thanks for the recap, Manoj. I mean, I'm sure that was quite useful for folks who have not attended the previous one. And please do check out the link which Manoj is going to share to get more idea on what way we took examples and we went with some of the principles in the last part 1 session. So today, Manoj, you put us in spot. Now I'm starting to think, okay, because I said it's candid, so something was there in my head to do it. But anyway, so what me and Srini are going to do today is, so we're going to take some of real world problems that we see when we write test code, right? And what I've come across, Srini's come across, or some of our colleagues have come across, right? So we're going to take that and see how we can solve those problems with writing better code, right? So I'm not going to say what are we going to implement and how, but that's what the entire session is, right? So before I me and Srini jump in and talk about whatever we're going to do next, one thing we really want to emphasize and call out is when it comes to clean code, people think about design patterns and stuff, right? So do not think that design patterns are like golden bullet where if you put down a design pattern, boom, something is going to solve to you, right? So so don't always think that I have to implement some design pattern to make my code look really cool, or you think that it's going to really help you. Please don't do. Sometimes, trying to plug a design pattern to solve a problem could, overcomplicate, your own problem, right? So I want to, call that as a start note and then probably jump in. So, today, me and Srini are going to do code pairing, and Srini is going to help me with some of my problems what I have, and let's see how it goes. And please, I'm going to have an eye on Q&A. Manoj is looking at Q&A, so please keep putting in your questions. So where and then we feel it's quite sensible for us, we'll give a pause and we'll try to answer your questions. Does it sound okay, Manoj?
Sounds perfect. And I believe
Fantastic.
the problems that I'm going to pick up is also for anyone who's not from a Selenium sort of world, but as well as for any automation code, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Good luck.
Cool.
And I'll be there at the backstage.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you. Awesome. So Srini, can you share your ID? So let's put in some code, and then I'm going to start off with my first problem, Srini, by the time you share your screen, right? The first thing definitely all of us in this group could pop up when you start to write your Selenium test is, hey, I chose Selenium for many reasons. And one of that could also be that, I want to test my application across browsers, right? So to begin with, Srini, let's start putting in our first piece of code where, my test should be capable to, run against different browsers for me. Right. To start off with, I definitely wanted to run against Chrome as well as Firefox.
Okay, perfect. So I have picked Java. So I have a sample Java project with me, and which has nothing except this delivery screen test and some annotations from TestNG. And I have a and again, as you said, we are going to use 𝒂𝒊 4, and that's it. I don't think so I have anything else in form. Yep, TestNG, Lombok, and then Java. Nothing much. And
Okay.
we have the latest versions of each. Okay.
Hey,
So,
interesting, right? Sorry, before you jump in, you also said there's a dependency that you added called as Lombok, right? Why have you added that? What is the need for that, Srini, here?
yep, probably over a period of time we will reveal that.
Okay, so you're going to use that for
for
something. Okay, cool. I'm going to wait for it.
Awesome. So the problem statement that you encounter here is you have a web application basically, and you wanted to drive some flows across several browsers. Probably some of the browsers could be Firefox, Chrome, blah, 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 right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Let me start with a sample code and help me as well go through the skeleton because it's been quite some time.
Oh.
Good. Yeah. So let me start with creating a WebDriver instance. And you wanted to execute it on multiple versions of, multiple browsers as well. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe for now, I definitely want to keep it with Chrome and Firefox.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Probably if you tell me you wanted to execute Chrome, let's say you wanted to so I'm going to drive it through the skeletons. I'm not going to have too much of stuffs.
And what would your if condition hold? How are you deciding it? It's going to be
Probably, maybe a system environment variable or something of that sort that could help me to get if you set it as Chrome. I'm not sure about the property.
yeah,
Get
you could say
environment.
yeah. .get of browser. So Srini, possibly when we're trying to do this approach, right? So what if I really want to run my tests parallel across Chrome and Firefox? Does this still hold good to me?
Yep, should be right. So we should
Okay.
be able to run on multiple driver instances.
Mhm.
But over a period of time, I think we should talk about thread safety as well, because one shouldn't override another one and it shouldn't get clobbered. So
Okay.
basically, we need to have a thread safe driver that
Mhm.
could help me to create probably, if we are running so many instances of Chrome and Firefox in parallel, that could help us.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And if I want to have another browser, you simply add an if else again, right?
Yep. Let's say Safari and Safari driver.
Okay. Probably I'm going to ask this question to folks in the group. How many feel, probably the code what Srini is writing seems reasonable to us? You can say yes. Why not a switch case? Yeah, why not a switch case, Srini? That's a good thing. Eh? Manish is asking, why not a switch case? I had that in my mind as well.
Yep, of course you could use switch case, and for now I am using if else, but yeah.
Doesn't matter, right? Yeah, if or switch. Okay, so Manish, he could also use a switch, but he seemed it seemed easy for him to put an if else over here as a nested, so he went ahead with if. Anyone else, probably whether it's a switch or an if, do you think this is a reasonable way to write code? Okay, Christopher is saying, oh, I think we could use a switch. Okay. So it seems like people are okay with, the switch cases over here, Srini. Switch, you said you put an if, but people are saying, possibly we could use a switch. The driver instance is an instance variable. Okay, so Chandan says the driver instance is a driver scope is limited to the function. That's a very good stuff, right? What Pavan said, the driver instance, so we can make it global, right?
Yep.
We made it global, but even given that, still, making it global would still be risky when we run the test in parallel, Srini, correct?
Yes, of course. So
Okay.
till now, the driver that we have, the instance that we have
Mhm.
created is not thread safe. So we have
Okay.
to make it thread safe. Otherwise, one instance. Okay, someone has given us a suggestion as well to use thread local. Yep.
Okay. Can we do that actually? Can we like move your driver implementation into TestSafe?
Okay,
So
let
you
me
call it driver manager. Okay, sounds good.
driver manager, and this driver manager basically will have a thread local. And it's someone said thread local, so let me go with thread local to keep things safe. And WebDriver thread local, again I have to rename it. And let me declare this as static, reason being so that we should be able to, and let's get this thread safe instance with the get driver get method basically from anywhere. So it should return me. I'll also name this as WebDriver. Get this and keep this static.
So you're basically trying to set and get the driver, right? And
Yes.
if a set WebDriver should take an argument of the WebDriver instance. Okay. So here,
now,
yeah. Okay.
let's say I wanted to. So when I create a WebDriver, I assign this WebDriver to a thread safe instance. And let's say I wanted to use a WebDriver in my test. I can get this WebDriver, got that driver, and then let's say get http://www.google.com. Okay, all good, all safe now.
Okay. So we have enabled the test now to, run against. We're trying to keep the driver instance safe when we have when we run the test in parallel, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Sweet. Okay, so Manish is saying, hey, why don't we use WebDriver agent? Of course, Manish, we could definitely use a WebDriver manager as well to get your Chrome drivers and stuff. Definitely we can do that. But here we are not trying to demonstrate how you could use Selenium in good ways, but we're trying to focus more on how we could solve a problem, writing code clean. But definitely we could use WebDriver manager to get instances of Chrome drivers and stuff like that. Awesome. And so Srini, you've put an if-else condition, right? I still see, right? I still see this as a code smell. I'll tell you why. Let's say tomorrow, if I have another 2 or 3 instances of my browsers, right? Let's say I want to do an Edge or probably another browser, right? And I mean, typically this could be a lengthy if-else, right? A nested ones. Is there a better way that we could actually approach this problem? And if you have something in your head, can you also, run a bit and see whether we could use, consumers from Java patterns?
Yep, definitely. So for now, I'm going to use Java 8. And there are a lot of capabilities that Java 8 has came up with. And to solve the first problem that you were talking about, right? Can we make it better in some other ways, right? So I'm going to use a factory design pattern. So people might have heard about creational design pattern, structural design pattern, and behavioral design patterns, right? Some of these design patterns can help me solve a problem where we feel that the code is going dirty. That could help me to write a better maintainable code and as well. So here, I think the best way to solve this, I think we have talked about this design pattern in the last version as well. I mean, the part 1 of our webinar as well. So it is a factory design pattern. And this factory design pattern is, I quickly remember one of the instance where in the recent code base that I have seen, where each and every file I had encountered in the project, where I see some 20, 30 is Android, is iOS, right? So there is going to be some something that is going to clutter the code. So for example, if I have to pass something on Android, I mean, fix something on Android, I have to go back and then figure out which is Android I need to, I mean, so many is Android statements, so many is iOS statements that I mean, even Manoj was talking about the flow manager of first part 1, right? Where the flows are a bit different for Android, flows are a bit different for iOS. So how do we handle that? Right. So creational factory design pattern is a creational design pattern that fits in very well here, because we are trying to create a driver instance, right?
Okay.
So maybe we could use, I mean, we could create a factory and then see see what capabilities of Java that we could help us to write a better code rather
Sure.
than rather than putting so many filters and then talking about that, right? So maybe
Okay.
let's create a factory called a driver factory.
Sure. Ashwini, as you're going to do this, right? So what I understand from, why you choose to use this pattern basically is, just correct me if my understanding is right? So you choose this factory pattern because definitely we are creating objects over there, right? So you went ahead into one of the creational patterns here, which creates objects without exposing the creational logic to the client, correct, Srini?
Exactly.
Okay. And also it uses the same common interface for us.
Yep.
Okay. And is factory pattern one of the common or core design principle to create an object?
I think it's one of the creational design pattern. There are other creational design patterns as well.
Okay.
But factory pattern is very
Commonly
here, and that's quite
Okay.
commonly used wherever we wanted to create an object. And basically you ask for it and it gives you whenever you need, and you don't do everywhere
Correct.
statements.
Okay. In to put in 2 points, people. So basically, first of all, it hides the entire creational logic for you. It simplifies the dependency for your client usage.
So let me quickly, and if you're wondering what is supplier here, so supplier is something in, I think it's been introduced on Java 8, if I'm not wrong. And one of the function from, I mean, consumer, supplier, predicates, if you have heard about these Javas, I mean, Java words, probably this, I mean, these are functions that were introduced in Java 8. And basically when Java 8 introduced functional interfaces, that's when we got these amazing capabilities from Java 8, where in supplier, if you say, I need an instance of a particular object, then it gives me that, as simple as that, right? So for example, for Chrome, we have written, and let me write Firefox as well. And I would say Firefox driver. Of course, we could simplify this and make it just in one line. You don't need a here. Let me also create a driver map wherein, so if I say string probably Chrome, then give me that specific WebDriver. So what supplier is going to do is, if you tell string, it is going to give me an instance of type WebDriver, as simple as that. So I'm going to create our holder map. What does it do is, I'm going to create a new map which says Chrome, then it's Chrome driver, Firefox, then it's going to be Firefox driver, as simple as that. And where we could do is, since we could add these information in add these information out here as a static function.
So you simply put Chrome as your first target
Yeah. Chrome.
Basically,
And then say Chrome. So
key
if
and
you
argument.
if someone get Chrome, then they are going to get the Chrome instance of it. And if someone says Firefox, then they are going to say they are going to get the Firefox instance of it. And we could.
Fantastic.
So how are we?
And how do we get it? How do we get it, Shini?
Yes. Private. So let's create a method called, basically it is going to return me a WebDriver, and let's create a method called getDriver or get
browser.
And as I said, we need to supply this information, right? So someone has to give me that. Someone has to tell me which browser they wanted to have this instance for, then just return a WebDriver instance, as simple as that, right? So basically, I'm going to ask driver map, which holds the value of each browser instance. So if
you need to adapt it to get a dot get after no, control Z. You say dot get of get, because
okay.
it gives you
it gives me the exact instance after
exactly. Yeah. Hey, and Sini, why you have kept it private? If you keep it private, how would you access it out? Shouldn't it be public?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Let's explain that. Yep. So now driver factory dot get WebDriver, and if I say Chrome, it's going to give me. So what basically it is going to do is, if I get Chrome, then it goes to the map and it's going to call this supplier. So supplier's basic nature is to return any object instance. We basically asked for WebDriver instance here. We have declared Chrome is of type WebDriver, so it's going to give me a Chrome instance, or it's going to give me a Firefox instance. So maybe we can quickly wrap everything here and say driver factory dot get WebDriver and say Chrome. It's going to give me a Chrome instance, basically a WebDriver instance. And I'm going to set that WebDriver out here.
Can this also be inline, Srini? Like driver manager dot set WebDriver of that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. So it's definitely improved here.
So when I wanted to kill it, I just basically do driver manager dot get driver dot quit. All good.
Awesome. Fantastic. I also see that Tanpreet has asked, can we automate two browsers simultaneously or not? Definitely you could automate two browsers at the same time, where the same test is popped with Chrome and Firefox and whichever instance of the browser, right? Definitely we can do that, Tanpreet. And basically the only way to do that is you need to orchestrate your threads correctly, which means two threads, one thread saying invoke a Chrome, and another thread saying invoke a Firefox. It's as simple as that.
So
okay.
I think I landed on the recent problem that Chrome has made. Basically, we need to add some more information that I remember coming across in several videos quite recently, which is basically we need to add a Chrome option so that you could enable remote. Let me say Chrome options, but add argument. Hello origin, I think remote. Please help me if in case if you know about these folks. Origins equal to, I think, allow all the remote origins. Chrome options. Yep. Now let me give it a try. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hey, Srini, there was someone's asking, why have you put a public for the supplier instance of the browsers? Was it intentional, or is just line 2022? Can that be private?
Okay. I think it has to be, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
good catch.
And including 14, right? It has to be private.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, why so many static blocks? Was it purposefully made to avoid object creation of the class, Srini?
Yep. Basically, yes. So I don't want to. I don't want anyone to talk to driver factory by creating an instance. Then it will be so many instances which I don't want. Which I would like to avoid.
Yeah.
So the basic need here is that, as similar to supplier, ask any driver instance and it creates it on the fly. And static block just to add any let's say if you have a Firefox tomorrow, then add it out there so that it gets executed without creating an object.
Awesome. Hey, I see another question. I don't want to miss out this question. Can you please put that in the Q&A so that we can take that in the last? Someone from 𝒁𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒏. How can we sync initialize WebDriver instance with page class if driver is static? So can someone please can you please put that into the Q&A so that we can take it up later, please?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Srini, that you have got this right. I'm actually going to give a website which I've pinged in the chat. And I mean, this is one problem which I've often seen, Srini, or possibly most of us in this group could have also seen this, where you know considering it's a retail website, right? And when you try to add a product and when you try to check out. Okay, can you I'll tell you the steps. Okay, I can show you what the problem, what the scenario is. So if you search for something called as a bag, right, over here,
Yeah. Let me try.
and get some result, just click on one of the products, any product of your choice, and you add this product to the cart, right? I mean, it's basic step that we do for anything. You get into the checkout page and you get a lot of information to be filled, right? Like, user information, or if you have not a logged in user, it asks you for a logged in user and stuff like that. So if you go to your checkout, and then if you see, one thing is you basically fill a lot of these information, and once you fill these information, right, at the bottom you get two types of shipping methods to you, Shini. One is a fixed and table rate, right? And if you see, based on whether the user is a logged in user, the shipping methods differ. And if you're logged in user and you're a Prime customer, stuff like that, possibly another two different shipping methods turn out okay, like same day. A lot of other options come up. Okay, so generally in these cases, right, what we tend to do is we try to put two test cases. In one case, we for sure say that it's a fixed shipping, or rated shipping, or 1 day shipping and things like that, right? And when we try to do this, either we try to pass in a text and the text should match it, and then we try to have some logic internally to say that, okay, we click on this if the text is this, and things like that, right? I mean, given that this shipping method is going to keep changing based on the user, what is a better way that we can approach to tackle this problem, Srini?
So basically, tomorrow, based on certain conditions, I might see, I might not see. So as
Correct.
if I understand right, if I am a logged in customer, let's assume Prime in Amazon. So if I have a Prime customer, then I might see Prime delivery or fast delivery. And if I am a guest customer, then I don't see anything of that sort. And if I'm still a customer already, and if I don't pay for Prime, then I still don't see. Probably I might see some other option. So shipping methods is going to be different for different kinds of customers. And so we are basically having a different behavior that might work differently. Let's say probably I've also seen quite similarly, like certain places don't do fast delivery. That's also possible. So certain zip codes might not have fast delivery as well, right? So the behavior of these going to be changing. Like for example, if I enter a different zip code, probably then that option comes up.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, there are so many case to case right over here, and possibly can you think through and show us how we can solve this problem. And also, Srini, with interest of time, right?
Mhm.
Can we not like inspect, and because I saw you opening a browser and showing people it running, with interest of time, with so many pages and fields, can we not like inspect and find out? I'm sure that that's not our focus, but our focus is to see what could be the best way to solve this problem, right? So,
Yeah.
and also, I also saw in the chat, someone asked, like, can you also tell us, the POM concepts, that how we can connect the pages with each other? So let's do that. Let's try to abstract it based on the screens, but
Mhm.
let's not focus too much on inspecting the element and putting it as an XPath or an
Definitely.
ID and stuff, right? Sounds good.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let me start with the flow before we solve the problem. So let me come to a skeleton where I could create, where I could create several page classes, and then let's see how we could improve that together. And for now, I would say this as delivery option test, maybe delivery options test to make it more meaningful. And I'm going to say probably, let's say I land on home page, and then I will search for a product. And I think which you said is basically I will share some information to my function, so it gives me what I'm going to search for. And I selected the product. So basically I selected the product once I have my search results ready, and then I've added my product to cart. So once I added my product to cart, I also checked it out. So let's say checkout product. I am wrong, right? That is what I did. And once I have in checkout, so I landed here, I did checked out. So then I am in shipping screen. Probably I wanted to set, select a delivery option, basically select delivery option. So basically I have a select delivery option. I don't know what happens after that. So probably might do a payment. Oh, looks like,
Yeah, possibly we can stop it here for now, Srini.
yeah,
Like, you select the delivery option, right? And then after that is just about payment. So that's
yeah,
fine.
just the payment. So I will quickly go over and create some of the methods so that I will create few classes, so dummy classes basically. For now, I'm going to place it somewhere nearby, and then we could have separate function, separate packages for everything, and then organize it a bit. And home page is going to have a search because I searched it in home page. So let's say I will create this in home screen, in the home page itself.
Yeah. I think your intelligent did a too much of auto creation for you.
I think it got confused. Okay, I think,
Yeah.
let me delete this. So let me create a function called search product, and it returns me a text product name. The interest of time, let me go fast. Return, and let's say it returned me search result screen.
Yeah. And can you make that public search product? The return type should be search result screen, right?
Return type should also be search result screen.
And
I don't know.
you need to
for
go ahead.
Objects, elements, ID, all of those locators that you wanted to add there.
Yeah.
And in search result screen, I'm going to select the product. So let me add public select product. let's say it selects some random product or first product, however. And then once it's selected the product, I'm going to detail screen just to see some more information, product details screen. And in detail screen, I'm going to, okay, let's create a class and go over here. It's going to ask me for returning a product screen, product details, and in product details screen is where I'm going to add the product to cart. So basically, let's add, I don't exactly remember what it is, add a product to cart. So select product and then product details, public, add product to cart, and you'll do. So I also have to check out this product, right? So let me add checkout as well. So this is returning the same screen. So I'll add a product detail screen, check out the product. And it's going to simply click on the checkout screen. And when you check out, it is going to help me land in the shipping screen. I think it is shipping screen or checkout screen, however you call it. So I have the basic skeleton now that could land me in shipping screen. And in shipping screen is where I'm going to add, I think we need to enter the user information, which is something that I missed out here. Only then you will be able to, let's say, enter user details and say Srini@ksdf.com. I think it needs a lot of information. First name, last name, if I'm not wrong. First name, last name.
Your address and
Blah blah.
yeah,
I will
yeah.
interest of time. I will
Pin
just
code. Yeah, sure.
do here checkout product, and then checkout gives me shipping screen. Let me add enter user details, and it's going to be string email,
String name, address, company, and address.
yes, I think it's, and you can add all the SYN keys and whatnot by yourself. And here I'm going to do probably enter those details and return the same instance, because I also have to select the delivery option, which where we are exactly. So I would say here shipping screen, and then public, select, let's say delivery type, and you also might pass in certain information, which is which delivery type, is it fast or is it standard, whatever. So you would say blah 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 here. So you will just, and probably I might say select fast delivery option and public, and I might also say select standard delivery option, make it private, and then put an if statement, whatever I hear. I think we might have faced in similar situations wherein you do all of these things and put an if else statement here, and then say if it is this, then do this, if it is this, then do that. So I think this is something quite common that we might have all done that. But I don't want to have if statement. Let's say tomorrow I'm going to introduce a new delivery option altogether, right? So in that case, I have to come back and change shipping screen. Let's say I have 10 different ways to deliver it. So the you might see that the length of the screen keeps going, and we will end up violating all the clean code practices that we talked about, right from single responsibility. And here you see that it's going to hold too many responsibilities already. At least it's going to do fast delivery, standard delivery, probably if a particular delivery option needs a zip code, or if a particular delivery option needs some other information. So the changes is going to be within the delivery option is going to be quite different depending upon the way how it is going to, how the application is implemented, right? So we will have too many delivery options related changes here. Just to make this better, I'm going to use a design pattern here, which is called a strategy design pattern. So anyone have, did anyone worked on strategy design pattern? Okay, right from SRP to open closed, we are going to violate everything here. If we keep adding all these design patterns, and then if anything comes in tomorrow, then you go back here and then change. And it's going to be a huge bloater as well, which we have talked about in the past, right? So to make it simple, I'm going to have a interface which says delivery option. So what this delivery option interface is going to hold is select delivery option, as simple as that. So perfect. So let's say I have two different delivery options as of now, and I might create, I mean, we can keep its own implementation separately. Let's say standard delivery option, which will implement what delivery option does basically. Extends delivery option. And similar to this, if we have fast delivery, let's say I'm going to have fast delivery as well. Option, which implements again delivery option. So what we are basically doing here is that we are figuring out an algorithm on the runtime, right? So the factory design pattern is all about on the creation time, whereas this is basically about changing the behavior during the runtime, right? So there is going to be a behavioral change and during the runtime. So we are going to identify which behavior an user wanted to do. Right? Let's say if Sai asked for a fast delivery, then it should land in fast delivery. Then if Srini asked for a standard delivery, then it should land in standard delivery without much of the hiccup, right? So when I go, and I will go back to shipping screen, wherein here, select delivery option or select delivery type. We'll do simply, before that, let me set the delivery option that we wanted to do as well. Right? So let me say, delivery option. Here I'm going to say delivery option. I'm going to create a local instance basically. This is going to be shipping screen because I want to return to a different screen before I complete this. And this will set this delivery option to here. And before I get that, delivery option. And probably you can initialize these elements as well inside whatever there in that specific delivery option. Let's say you can say page factory init elements and page factory init elements, and you pass in the driver and the delivery option as well. Yep, it's also possible. So you set the delivery option now.
Srini, there was another question on the similar lines on how do you pass the driver instance to the page factory and connect between pages. So if you don't mind, can you add that one line as well in your set delivery option, so that could give them the idea. So like you initialize a page factory, right? Page factory dot init elements.
Init elements, and here we're going to pass the driver instance, right? So let me create a driver instance, and this dot delivery option. So which is the instance of this class where we are going to create. And let me make this as well as a local instance so that this dot driver and create
a web driver of driver.
Yeah. Web driver.
Shini, instead of giving this dot driver, can't we directly take the driver instance?
Yeah, we
Because
can
you
do it
anyways put
from
it thread
the-
safe, right? So you can
Yeah,
say driver manager, right? It was driver manager dot get
yeah,
driver. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
perfect. And here we are going to select the delivery option. Let's say if we set the delivery option probably as fast, then this is going to get the instance of fast delivery option, and otherwise it's going to get the instance of standard delivery option. And by default, it's going to land in either of these fast delivery options, whichever, I mean, either of these delivery option that is available during the runtime. So basically, we
Okay.
are altering the behavior. We are identifying which algorithm that my product, I mean, my test has to choose, right? So you're doing this on the runtime. So basically, once you set the user details, you might also have to set the delivery option here, which will help me to figure out. We can also
Which
create
is
a
the delivery option? Okay.
which is the delivery option basically. You can also create a driver option, I mean, delivery option factory, as like how we created a driver factory, right? So if you ask the delivery option factory with the delivery option, let's say the delivery option is flat delivery option, a standard, then it gives you that specific delivery option. Basically, it gives you that delivery option, as simple as that. So which probably look like delivery, let's say delivery option factory dot get, and you have to pass in the delivery option, and you could eventually use let's say flat, or you can pass it to the data provider which is there available in TestMu. For now, I'll pass
Okay.
here, and then you could create this as well as a separate class, and which will what it will eventually have is basically a supplier, and if it is fast, give me an instance of fast delivery, similar to driver factory we have. So a supplier WebDriver, instead of WebDriver, it will say supplier delivery option, and if I pass that delivery option as fast, and it's going to give me fast delivery option instance. I mean, basically it is going to call the supplier of fast delivery option, which will give you an instance of fast delivery option. So as simple as
Shini, as you were saying, right, I sort of slightly renamed a lot of fields from your driver factory, and I put it in the chat, which can map the delivery options. Can you put it so that people can take a look at it? Can you create a delivery options factory class and just put what I've put in the chat? I think I didn't make any typos there, though. I put something in the Zoom chat. See, can you copy paste that?
yeah. Oh. Okay. Copy. Paste.
I did the same like what you did for the browser. Nothing fancy here. I just changed to respective delivery,
Okay.
options.
Now we have a delivery option as well. I think I named it differently, but probably.
See, oh, it's standard delivery option you put. I only put standard delivery. So can you rename it to option? Yeah.
Standard delivery option.
And fast delivery option you put.
So if I ask
Okay.
for flat rate, probably, let's say flat I mentioned. So if I ask for flat rate, then it gives me a delivery option, which is of type fast delivery, right? So that gets set in this object, and which will eventually call select delivery option that belong to fast delivery option. So
Yeah.
we are altering the behavior. I mean, basically we are figuring out the behavior during the runtime. So let's say you wanted to upgrade your car to something else. I mean, with a new model or new interiors, right? So we could use, I mean, but that means that you have a car and you are going to just upgrade it. So you're not going to create a new car altogether, right? So here, that's why we are choosing a strategy pattern, whereas it is going to figure out the behavior during runtime, which, I mean, standard delivery might have its own way of delivering it. Fast delivery might have its own way of delivering it here, right? So that way, we are able to utilize standard delivery, I mean, utilize a strategy pattern, which is little different from creational pattern, which is, I mean, the one that we used is factory pattern, right? So factory pattern where we use creating an instance, but here we are modifying the behavior.
So Srini, I mean, looking at what the kind of pattern that you put in to solve here with the strategy, so which means this also holds good with our single responsibility and open close principle, right?
Yes,
Because
exactly.
if I understand correctly, so tomorrow if there's another delivery option which plugs in, all that I need to do is need not worry about any of the other options, but rather get into my delivery option factory, set a new delivery option, and just focus on creating, the new delivery options class and its own implementation, and do not touch any of the existing code. Correct, Srini?
Exactly. Yes, you're right.
Awesome. Cool.
So we,
Cool.
as you rightly said, we are open for extension. Let's say tomorrow something comes, we will just have its own implementation, and we closed everything out for modifications.
Correct. Okay. Sweet. Hey, with this, right, with your implementation, which you put on the entire user details, right? Having 4, 5, 6. Ideally, you put only 4, but that web page needs a lot of them, right? Srini, this is also a code smell, right? Which we spoke earlier. This is a kind of a bloater, right? Because you have a function with a number of arguments passed in, right? Can we make that better, Srini?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to use a Lombok here, which several people might have used it, and Java also has come up with something called records. There's going to be a little difference between these two, but for now, since I'm in Java 8, I'm going to use Lombok. What does it do is basically it, let me create an user, which is going to be a model for me. So user holds all these informations, right? And user might hold its email address, first name, last name, basically address, and everything, right? So here I'm going to say builder. So what it does is it's going to basically we are going to build an object out of it with let's say user dot.
As Srini is keying in this, right? How many of you have heard about this Lombok? Just keep putting things in your chat if you have already used Lombok. Cool. There's a lot of people using Lombok, which is really nice to hear. Yeah, it's really good.
Basically, we don't need to explain much out here.
Yeah, fantastic. And how many people have looked at records? What Lombok can do by default, we have in Java as well, called as records. Anyone who's worked with records. Okay, Prem's used it. Chandan says hearing it for this chat. Yeah, definitely check out records. You don't have to add another, Lombok dependency to do this magic. But the only thing is, if you look at records, I think it's coming from a specific Java version. And if your framework is using that specific Java version, I think you should be good with it.
Yeah, so I think they came in from Java 14, if I'm not wrong.
14 is it? Okay.
Basically, it will be very helpful if you are creating an immutable object. And Lombok, again, it's a Java library, but it can auto-generate several some of the known patterns. For example, the builder pattern that we have seen now, right? So we could simply use that. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the dispensable problem. So I'm going to say email.send keys user.get email, and probably you might also have to add
getter and setters. No setters, right? It's only getter here. Yeah.
That will help me to get the email. Yeah. It's going to email. Yeah. And fill in all
that'll
the.
be an annotation for you, right? Sorry, that could be your locator.
Yeah.
Ideally the web element, right? Email could be a web element.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I mean, we can leave that as it's just saying. That's okay. It's understood. It's a web element there, so we don't have to worry much. Okay, this looks pretty clean. Okay. Okay, the usage looks clean. The test looks readable, which is very much. And I also see, we could keep, plugging in different options and different tests to this by just changing the delivery option, right? With the strategy pattern you brought in. That's really a cool one, Srini. Hey, I want to add another problem over here, right? So can you go into the website, Srini, over there?
Okay.
Right. Okay. Can you just go back to the search screen, please?
Okay.
See, in any retail site, right, there are different SKUs for you, different products that we can search, right? You definitely took a easy one, which is a bag. So let's search for t-shirts, right? Like tees, TWES.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, just select any one of them, no? Of your choice. Yeah, right. So if you see over here, right? So when you search for a bag, you actually search for a bag and then you added stuff to the cart, right? But here, if you see, you still search for a product. The product is different. You still search for a product, but to add to the cart, there are two mandatory options for you, right? One says that you need to definitely select a size, and another thing is you definitely need to select a color, right? And generally when such things come, what we tend to do is we write another function and we'll say we might possibly name it something. Okay, probably we would say search for a product with color and size or something like that, right? So we generally try to do those things so that our test automation can run. But this is just not in one place, right? This can keep growing. It can get bloated across your test suite. How do you think we can, make our current test what you wrote extensible, so that even with these options, I should be able to keep the same test and keep going ahead?
Okay, perfect. So I think if we keep adding this, right, then probably we will have size variant alone separately. For some of those might have the size where we don't have a color, and some of them might have color variants alone, and some of them comes with some other different variations as well, right? So we will, as you said, rightly said, we will keep bloating with so many functions, which does the same thing end of the day, right? It's going to search the product, right? So basically we could use another design pattern called the decorator pattern, which is kind of a structural design pattern. So we have seen about creational, which is a factory while creating a driver instance. We also seen about behavioral, which is basically the strategy pattern to identify the algorithm or select the algorithm, select the behavior during runtime. So now we are going to alter the structure of something, which is which is basically a decorator design pattern, right? Let's say where we could use this decorator design pattern, or basically why I wanted to use this here is we know each and every product holds certain properties, like it says name, as you were saying about product IDs. It might also hold the price. Price might be tagged to the product as well, right? And it might have an image. Most of the products will, I mean, of course, if you have to sell it, you need to have the right set of images as well, right, to represent the product. So these are some of the basic functionalities that everybody has. On top of it, we are going to decorate. I mean, we are going to add some ingredients on top of it, right? So here we are going to add classify basically small size variants and color variants, right? These are some of the ingredients on top of what we have, which is name, title, images, price, and blah blah blah, right? Description and so on, so right. So that's why I wanted to use a decoration or structural design pattern, which could help me to change the structure of the object as we proceed. So maybe we can quickly, in the interest of time, I will quickly scribble something that could help me to create a decorator. So let's say we are dealing with product decoration, product decorators. And again, I'm going to use some of the capabilities of Java 8 here. So we talked about consumer, right? We talked about consumer. So what does decorators, I mean, basically, what are those extra things that we are going to do is we're going to select a variant.
Yeah, we have to select a variant, which is the size, and the other one is definitely the color. So we actually need two of those.
Okay. And then say web element dot click. So we're going to select whichever element that we pass in, right?
Yes. Okay, so you kept, even the select, you kept it generic, right? You didn't want it to say select color. Okay, cool. Sounds fair.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
if something else comes in, then I need to again.
Makes sense. Definitely. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. So you simply said select a variant, and the variant can be anything, correct?
Exactly. The variant can be
Okay.
anything that user passes it, right?
Mm.
So I am also going to say, not everyone will have a variant, right? Probably you might also have to check
Yeah.
whether a variant exists, right?
Yeah, because the back didn't have a variant. The
back
current
didn't
test,
have
what you said, back didn't have a variant, right?
Back didn't have a variant, so I would say here return, or let's say I added an assertion for now here.
Mhm.
We could add it little later. Assert.
So true. Simple.
Web
Yeah.
element.
Element is displayed. Yeah.
Okay. So I have these two variants, and whether
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to select it, I'm going to find it or not is a question.
Mm.
And if I find it, probably I'm going to select that, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have a function that says, okay, select variants, find it, select variant, select size variant, select color variant, or you iterate it. And if there is too many multiple variants, you iterate it and then select it, right? So that's one way to do it. But again, you will end up having if else's, if I have multiple things, then we will again fall back to the same problem, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a consumer. So what does consumer do is what does supplier does? So if I ask for it, it gives me that instance. That's what supplier does. And consumer is going to do basically it represents basically it accepts an argument first and then returns it doesn't return any result. Whereas supplier, it gives me a result of type which I have initialized with supplier. Let's say supplier of WebDriver means it gives me a WebDriver. It doesn't accept any arguments, right? But consumer is going to accept an argument. Again, consumer is a function from Java, which is going to give me an argument. And let's say the argument is product details screen here. So I'm saying should have size variant. Let's say should have size variant, and then it's waiting for the lambda session. Product detail screen, and here I'm going to say should have variant, and then let's say let's assume that I have a variant in product detail screen, and I pass this information here. And I could do the same for color variant as well. Let me before that initialize Java functions, and I will also make this static final. Yeah. So
Srini, and that size variant is nothing but a simple web element which will be residing inside a product detail screen, correct?
Exactly. So it's going to be a simple web element. And
can you simply create one just to just so people get an idea what that?
Yeah, I can go inside.
Does it allow you to do it from here?
I'm not sure.
No. Okay, just put an add find by and probably an ID with empty string, and
Yes, web element, and this is site. And let me do the same for
color variant.
Color variant as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing a quick time check, Srini, another 20 minutes. I think possibly another 10 with 10 more minutes of Q&A. Okay.
So let me go here, and then we went for creating a, what's that? Decorator. Okay. I don't know where is it. So here we go. We
Yeah,
have it.
got it. So now we don't have
And
the
then
problem.
what we also have to do is we also have to select that variant, right? We create another set of consumer, which could help me to select size variant, or let's say size. So what it is going to do is it select the variant and which is size. And we could do the same for color variant, and which is basically color. And I would say color variant. So now we have selected this, I mean, we have two consumers for selecting the size variant and selecting the uh, color variant, right?
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
have to execute this in a sequence, right? Like, let's say we have two classified product. One is normal product, which doesn't do any of these things. And another one is basically multivariant product.
Yeah, a variant product, correct.
Yeah, basically a variant product, exactly. So I'm going to create another consumer, which will help me to do all of these things that we have talked about. Let's say this is basically a normal product. I'm going to define what this normal product means, right? So normal product is basically, so first thing first, it shouldn't have any variant. Maybe we can say we can have another variation here, and we can also place this. We can say should not have size variant. Shouldn't have size variant. Should not have a variant, and which is size. Just to give you.
So you're trying to do that for a normal product. You're asserting that the variants are not displayed, right, Srini?
The variants are not basically displayed. So
Okay.
I'm saying that there's no such variant. Go for it. And then I'm going to create a multivariant product, which is multivariant or variant product basically. So for variant product, what we need to do is should first thing first, it should have a size variant. Once we have the size variant, then what we are going to do is select that size. And once you have the size, then it's time for us to do
checkout, right?
I think we have to select the color as well, right? If it has
color as well. Yeah.
then do
select color, no?
select the color. So basically we define the behavior here. What how does it looks like, right? So if it exists, then do this. If it exists, then do this. Otherwise, all good, right? So we have defined a decorator where, I mean, basically we decorated this product now, right? That we could just pass in, let's say, selecting the delivery option. I mean, basically we could basically use this product decorator in your test. That could help me to decorate for each and every test. Basically, where we have to do is product, right? So I would say product, and this product can have bag or whatever, and that could.
So maybe Srini, just for interest of time now, right? What we'll do is we know that for a single product for a bag, we did this, right? Maybe you can give in line 22 or in the product section, we could, let's say, give it teas, right? Because that's the one which had multiple options and it's got that variant to us, right?
So I would say teas.
Yeah.
And we also have to send that. I mean, we also have to say explicitly that at least Sai and Srini knows that is right, but my functionality doesn't know that whether it is a
normal product or a multivariant product. Yeah.
We also have to say this, which it is a normal product or multivariant product. So while adding the product to cart, probably or selecting the product basically as well. Let's say we can say the product. Or probably a product delivery option somewhere here. I think it
product decorators of your normal product. No, multivariant. In our case, it's a multivariant product.
So in our case, it's a multivariant product. I go to here and then say consumer, and which is of the product details screen, and say, hey, I have a new consumer, and this is what I have passed it, right? So when you are adding a product to cart, we basically have to do two things. One is select a cart.
Mhm.
Select a size, select a color, right?
And
If
this is again, Srini, sorry, I'll stop you
this,
here. This is again conditional, right? Because for a specific search, we might not want to select the variants, but for a normal search, we simply directly add to the cart, right? I mean, that's the problem which I actually called out. Okay, cool.
yes. So what we will do basically at the end is we will add the product to cart. Basically we will click that cart link, right? Before
Correct.
clicking the cart link, what you could do basically is if it is normal, then do this. If it is so and so,
Mm,
then do another set of instruction, right?
mm,
So
mm,
basically, if something else comes in, then you go back and add
mm.
all of this information here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say consumer dot accept. So accept is a function that will help me to execute the system list of statements that I said, right? If it is a normal, if you pass this as a normal, then it will execute the behavior of normal. So performs this operation on the given argument, right? So we said multivariant, it will do this automatically. Then you say accept. And you also said, okay, let me avoid this for now. When you pass in this consumer, which is of type normal product, it's going to execute that normal product statement, which is basically if I say tomorrow, I will say normal product, then it is going to execute this statement for you. So who will execute this is that accept, which is going to perform this operation. The accept method from the consumer function of Java is going to perform this operation. So now I don't have any else. I am still be able to add the product, whether it is a normal product, whether it is a multivariant, or it has only color, whether it is a only size, doesn't matter. Now it has a capability. If let's say tomorrow some other variation comes, right? You could just go back and add that one consumer here, add the consumer there, and the product decorator, and you have your own. Just to add it here, you don't need to go everywhere and then say if else, all good.
Got it.
Or
Got
test.
it. Yeah. So ideally, you took the same normal product and you decorated, for it to select your specific variants based on a specific search, right?
Yes, exactly. So product
that's
has
cool.
basic informations. On top of it, we have decorated it with size and color, and it gives me a fact that a decorated object, so I could go ahead and add that product to cart.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Cool, cool. And I think, this really is extensible so that even tomorrow, if I get any type of other products, I can keep decorating my search, right? So my implementation still remains the same, but based on, a specific, type and what I want to decorate on top of, add to cart, I can still keep doing that as well. Like apply a coupon and then add to cart, right? So I could still come into your product decorators, and I can do that. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. Hey, we have last 10 minutes. And
If
I
else,
think, probably we can, Manoj.
Yeah.
I think we can keep this 10 minutes if people have any questions around what we just took.
Sure. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think last 1.5 hours was a great, food for thought to consume. I'm sure, the brains and the tummies are full. I think particularly the strategy pattern and, the records, which was new thing in Java 14, I vaguely remember somewhere, but again, it was a good refresher to look at it. And the strategy pattern was also something interesting to, to fit in this case, right? I mean, I've heard about strategy pattern, but, probably haven't implemented it myself. But I think that's a good way to, look at how we could bring those concepts. And I think that's what we've been talking around, right? So test code is same as production code. So if people are using those patterns there, I mean, we can use it effectively too. And I was just giving an example on the chat as well, saying, how we could relate strategy pattern into something like a Google map, because the algorithm would be similar, right? So say a destination A to B can have the same result, but might have different path, like for a motorcycle, for a car, for public transport, it might be different. So it is a great way to, put those concepts here. So thank you for sharing all of that. I'll just take a quick look at Q&A, which we answered a couple of them. So one of the questions that I can pick up is, can we use this design pattern while using BDD framework, and how can we achieve this? Is there something specific we need to follow?
No, definitely not, because you could see the design patterns or the practice of clean code, right, can be applied anywhere, irrespective whether it is Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, any of it, right? So it doesn't matter whether it's a BDD framework or a non-BDD framework, you could still apply all of this, right? I mean, see, what is BDD doing to you? It's just a Gherkin language, right? And for example, if on the screen what Srini is showing, right, line number 14, consider that as a function. You simply add a step on top of that, right? You just say a given or a when, and that's pretty much what your BDD could do, right? But underlying implementation is still what you see on the screen. So it's a definite big yes over there.
Awesome. Cool. Premraj, asking about, I see a lot of usage of static. Generally is not considered as an abuse to rely too much on static. Could you please clarify?
Yep, the basic reason why I have added static is I don't want anyone to create an object accidentally as well in the future. And that will help me to, another way that I have created, not just for this function, there was a static function as well. And I don't need a object, so that I could say Chrome means Chrome instance, Firefox means Firefox instance. Tomorrow, let's say a new driver factory dot get Chrome, new driver factory dot set Chrome. I don't want to mess this up tomorrow accidentally, or if a new member joins in the team, then since it is available in public and they don't want to go ahead and create an object. So basically I want to cut that off and give as clean functionality as possible. That's the reason why I kept it static.
Cool. I hope that answered your question, Premraj. Question from Raja Ramasamy. He asks, for the strategy design pattern, can we use abstract classes instead of interface?
Interface also came with a definition now, right? Like we have a default method now, right? So things are evolving in Java, but don't mix that out with design pattern. The main concept of design pattern, which is strategy design pattern, is to identify an algorithm, during the runtime. That's as simple as that. Don't mix it with probably tomorrow, let's say, Python might not have that feature in their own programming language, or it might be completely different in a different programming language, right? This is something common to a design, not relevant to the design pattern. So if you are using Java 7, you don't have a default function in the interface itself. But if you are using Java 8, you also have a default function, right? So let's not mix that out. The idea behind the strategy design pattern is to identify algorithm and alter the behavior during the runtime. As simple as that. How you implement on that specific programming language is the capabilities of which language we have chosen and which version that we are in, and it all depends upon. But the thought process here is to identify the algorithm and change the behavior during the runtime. As simple as that.
Cool. I think another question from an anonymous attendee. Java has consumers, suppliers concepts in its inheritance based on classes. Hence, we can have, the demonstration that you basically did. We could definitely learn a lot from them. But what if someone is using JavaScript frameworks like TestCafe and Cypress, where the inheritance is based on objects? I think it's a definitely interesting question, because if you look at a whole, right? So design pattern is something there regardless of a language, because it is there to solve a particular problem. And that's why it is called design pattern in a way. But I think this is also interesting, considering, projects like TestCafe, Cypress, they have their own inbuilt runners where the object is completely very different. So what's your take on that, Sai?
Probably another session, Manoj.
Very true. I think You can go on, but any high level you wanna?
Yeah, I'll definitely probably take the 𝐕𝐢𝐞𝐞 as well. See, like Java has consumers and suppliers, right? Even without consumers and suppliers, we could have done what we did today, the decorative pattern, right? We just simply took the benefit that Java is giving us with the suppliers and consumers to write less code. That's it, right? And if you ask us, right, okay, I'm not going to use consumers, not suppliers, but can you still do decorative pattern? Yes, we could do, right? We could still do that, right? And the same applies even in the JavaScript world. Any design pattern, like what Manoj said, is here to solve a problem across these programming languages, right? Whether you have consumer here, maybe you might not have a similar consumer concept, but it's just an algorithm, right? So we could definitely solve it over there. But a small thing in the question, right? Can we achieve them in JavaScript? Yes. JavaScript frameworks like Cypress, TestCafe, like I said, a similar question was asked, right? Can we do in BDD? So these are just simple runners, right? So, I mean, they don't have anything to do with these design patterns. So you'll have to, probably, break that into two aspects. Can we do it in JavaScript, TypeScript? Yes. TestCafe, Cypress are only runners because they really don't worry about how you write your code. They say, you just tell me what to do, instruct me, and I will just do those things, right? And that's what even Selenium is doing, like what we just did. We use Selenium, and the same concept, you're trying to put it within Cypress or TestCafe, Puppeteer, Playwright, name any of these tools. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, definitely, if we want to look through design patterns in JavaScript, the implementation, the idea is going to be the same, but the implementation would differ because, of course, it's Java, JavaScript, right? So it's two different languages.
I would suggest to move to TypeScript.
TypeScript.
Yeah, you have more control the language. So is there something you want to touch upon on the functional programming aspects as well? Because that also bring in some relevance to these sort of styles. Do you have any take on, have you exposed into that sort of styles?
Yeah. I've definitely worked on functional programming as well, and it's a sort of very nice way of writing, an automated test as well, where I see a lot of QAs don't really, expose ourselves into those fields. But once you start looking in your test code into a functional way of programming, you will love it. You'll never look back into the ways that we write today. But definitely, even in the functional way of writing your code, a lot of these design patterns also hold very, very much good. It really doesn't matter there for us. And especially when you're working on a very data heavy projects, right? So the way you want to destructure, pull out your data and stuff, that could be a very nice playground for us over there.
Sure. I think just for a change, the thing that we have been done in the past at 𝑦𝒓 community, we have always taken questions from the Q&A, but since you folks were so interactive on the chat, I'm going to give an opportunity to speak directly with Sai and Srini. So folks, who are still online, if you have any question, just use the raise hand button, and I'll try to allow you to speak in case if you have any question.
The question is only related to the session, Manoj?
Absolutely.
Or it's absolutely.
It's AMA. Ask me anything. Yeah. So folks, any questions for Sai and Srini? You could directly, speak to them.
You can also say as a hi.
Cool. While we wait for anyone to raise their hands. So apart from what we saw today, definitely I'm not leading into part 3 version, so bear with me. Is there any other design patterns do you think people should explore? Let's give them takeaway kind of experience, right? So is there any design pattern that you would want to recommend people can take a look at it, learn more?
Okay, I'll probably tell one, and maybe I'll leave Srini probably after that. Definitely one other design pattern that I've used to solve quite some time is something called a template pattern. So where you have a template across your option, across something that you really want to do, right? For example, launch a site, add cart, checkout. That's a template, right? So you can actually, create a template, and then on top of the template, you can, add some more, decorators into it. So I've definitely loved another pattern which I've used quite some time is a template pattern.
Yeah,
Srini, sir.
I remember using facade pattern and another pattern from Martin Fowler, which we have used together in Appium test distribution. I forgot the name of the pattern, but that's something that's been introduced by Martin Fowler, and that helped us to solve some of the problems in Appium test distribution when me and Sai were co-creating it. And
Awesome.
he also has a book on his name called Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Object-Oriented Programming or Object-Oriented Software. I don't remember exact name, but he has a book on his design pattern. So I think it came out from there. I think.
Cool. Awesome. I think with that, we will just wrap up today's webinar. It again, wonderful, insights. Thank you so much, Sai and Srini. I believe you also loved the interactive session. I think it was better than the last one. So kudos to all the people who were still hanging on online, even though we are, over the top of the time that we committed to. Thank you so much to all of them who's still online, as well as to Sai and Srini.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, people. Thank you so much. Thanks for being interactive.
Thanks, LambdaTest.
With that, I just wanted to quickly remind you all about something interesting that we again have for the community called TestMu conference, which we ran last time as well. So TestMu 2023 is scheduled on 22nd to 24th August. And we also have an active call for proposal still live. So if you have any interesting talk that you want to present at the conference, please come, propose a session, or even if you just want to sit, relax and enjoy sessions like, Sai and Srini was just doing, there's going to be a lot of those sessions. We'll have interactive workshops this time. So you could also register for free, and please do, send a registration link to your colleagues at WET so that they can also get benefited. And something very interesting apart from what we had last time is something I don't want to reveal. So we are really revealing something exciting tomorrow. So tune in to social media or subscribe to our updates. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. evening, we are announcing something big for the quality and testing community. So which will be part of TestMu. So stay tuned for that. With that, thank you so much for joining. I will see you next month with yet another, a different set of theme and talk from, I don't know who the next speaker is. So if you have any suggestions, please do. And we will be more than happy to bring them on board and deliver such sessions for you. And thank you so much. See you next time. Till then.